Well, before I focus in on the painting, I'd just like to show you how I'm going to go about this. The foreground of the painting is going to represent, dead grass. Some areas of dirt. There might be a rock or two in there, there might not, I really don't know. But I'm going to need to, excuse me. Ooh. I'm going to need to have sort of related colors. They'll be complementary. I'm going to sort of go with golds, and we'll go around the other side of the color wheel and we'll go and use some purples as well. Let's talk about the golds first. What I'm going to do, this is what I usually do. Our grass, we're going to use yellow ochre as our main color. And I'm going to, from the edge of the pile, make some a little bit dirtier. Okay. Give my brush a wipe, not cleaning it thoroughly, just giving it a wipe. I know there are going to be areas among that grass that are going to have a little bit of burnt sienna. Warm up the color a little bit. More than likely, on some of the higher lighted areas, I got some cat orange deep here. I'll probably put that in there too, and I might bring in some white. So from the yellow ochre, we've already kind of established basically the colors that we're going to start off with. Now I will also likely be putting in a little bit of ultramarine blue. Not cobalt blue, because it's going to go very green then, and I don't want very green stuff. We've already got some green in there, and I don't want the painting to be too green. We're going for golds. Golds against blues. So then, excuse me. So I'll pull off of this pile a little bit. We're going to start with the raw umber because I don't want to go in with straight cobalt blue. I'll be laying some of that in places where the sun catches the grass. So that's a bit of raw umber, so it's toned down yellow ochre a little bit. And I'm going to take a little of this and I'll warm it up in a few spaces, in a few spots. Okay, so I'll more or less just keep working with that sort of format. You know, the yellow ochre would be more or less what you could call the mother color. It's the base of the sunlit prairie or grassy areas. And we'll work with a variety of these colors within those areas. I don't want to make individual piles, of raw umber yellow ochre, individual pile of ultramarine blue yellow ochre, individual pile of burnt sienna yellow ochre, individual pile of, and so on and so on. This helps to keep things unmixed a little bit, because as you're dragging your brush through these different colors, one side of the brush might be a little lighter than the other, and might have a little different color than the other. So it's kind of an aid to help you keep some variety of color in an area. Okay, let's go up to our painting now. Whoops. Okay, now we can kind of see what we're after. See what we're doing. Okay, Whoops, I guess I need to squeeze a little more raw umber onto my surface here. And I don't want to put my highest values or my highest chroma on just yet. I want to get the basic colors in place. I don't want to play all my cards until the end. That'll help me to know where I should even put them. Okay, I want our intensity even here. I want it to be sort of in the middle, you know, between this and this, between this and this. This will be the greatest intensity. I can pull it to the left or the right. Odds are I'm going to pull a larger amount of the lighter colors of the higher values over to the left, and there will be a thinner representation of them on the right hand side. Okay, I touched that with a bit of cad yellow medium and yellow ochre and a bit of white. Now we're going to go back to our yellow ochre raw umber combination, and I'm not going to be too afraid of using larger brush strokes, because the smaller, more tedious ones I will save to the end. You know, we get it colored in, we block in the colors, then we groom the area that we blocked in, or I do. I mean, you can do it any way you like. I'm just showing you how I do it. That's all. So it goes fairly quick once you've decided on a design, you know. Hopefully you find that design satisfactory. When you do that, and if you don't, well, I guess you got to wipe it off and do it again. Would not be the first time. I've done that more than a few times. Okay. For the moment, that's it for there. When I go into here with the brush again, it's going to be a smaller brush. This is an 8, I'll go to a 4. No, I'll go to a 6. Alright. Let's just call that good for the time being. Now let's travel around to the other side of the traffic circle. We could do that too, but that's a dangerous place to paint. How about the color circle, the color wheel? let's go find something that's a little more complementary. Now I'm going to use a bit of cobalt blue, a little bit of ultramarine blue, a little bit of alizarin crimson. That brings us to a color that's very similar to what's here, but I'm going to try to make it a little warmer, more like this. It's quite reddish purple yet. I'd like to go a little bluer. Just indicating shade, in the foreground. At least so far it's shade. Okay, I've made a pretty big mess of my palette now. That's what palettes are for, aren't they? Or isn't it? Yeah. Aren't they? Okay, so with the exception of getting a little bit more organized in the foreground in certain areas and touching it up and grooming it, that I think is more or less what we're after. A little bit of refining here and there. Okay, blocked in. Let me stand back and have a look at that. If generally it's good, if it's acceptable. Yeah, I like it. I like it. I think that's going to work okay. All right, so I apologize. I got a little carried away here the other day, and I was sitting back in my chair. I kind of thought I was done for the moment, and then I thought, well, maybe I'll just paint in this triangle. So I mixed a little bit of cad red medium and a little bit of cobalt blue, and bits of yellow ochre, bits of white, to establish my, the values that I'd be happy with and the hues. And then I painted this in and under the eave here. And then I thought, well, I've already got my values in place more or less. I may as well just continue. So, with similar values, I thought I'll block this in as well and leave a few shapes open here. And then I thought, well, I've done that much. I may as well, all I have to do is add a little more white, really, and a little yellow ochre to warm it up. let light touch it a little more strongly, and paint in this little bit of this wall, part wall of the lean-to shed on the side. Then I went and sat down and watched a YouTube video, and that was done. And I looked at it and I thought, you know, it would take me just a couple of minutes to paint the red walls here. So I popped up here and laid in some cad red medium and some yellow ochre and some cad red or cad yellow deep. And then of course suddenly I realized that I had never really turned the camera on. I was just playing around, you know, with bits and pieces here and there, and that's what I arrived at. So happy with it, but this time I didn't take you with me, obviously. Anyway, that's how it's sitting for the moment. You know, the shed might still get the odd touch. We have, of course, this here. And I'm going to now be likely playing with this brush just to get things sort of tidied up and more refined a little bit. I think that because I have a lot of hard lines in the cabin here, as we come forward I should probably introduce just the odd hard line as well, and I'll use the smaller brush for that. Okay. Anyway, let me just bring the tripod around. Do some bumping and jumping here again as usual. So, there it is so far. We've got some good complementary colors in the foreground. The purples and blues echo some of what's up here. We have this balancing each other out. These almost just stand on their own. Anyway, I think so far that's so good. Talk to you soon.